can pause this if we want, if there's something somebody wants to chat that they don't want it recorded, but I want to record until otherwise. If anybody doesn't want to chat just or doesn't want to have something on the recording, let me know. All right, so little bit about myself, as you three know very well. I am a single mother of two teenagers with two fur babies. Unexpectedly lost my husband to cancer in December of 22. Through that loss, I started to figure out who I am and how I was going to move forward. And with that, I started those certification programs. The first was a life and health coaching program, and I decided through that I was going to focus on grief. And then I stumbled into, on social media, stumbled into this trauma coaching program, and I just realized coaching is spelled wrong. Where I received my certification, my trauma certification through the Ross Institute of Trauma. And most of what we're going to discuss today, I did through the trauma program I did through with Janice Holland and her Courageous Living program. So I learned a lot of this from her. A lot of this is from stuff from working with clients and talking with other people that I have come to realize is true. So what is a grief and trauma coach? So as a grief and trauma coach, I help individuals navigate the landscape of loss, hardship, and traumatic experiences. My process is to guide you through the process of healing by offering support, tools, and strategies to help you process the grief or trauma in healthy ways. And I hope I will serve you with compassion in order to guide you to rediscover your strength, process your emotions, and rebuild your life into one you will always dream of. So what we're going to talk about today first is what is a trauma response. So a trauma response is that built-in self-defense mechanism within your body that causes either a biological or a psychological response to a stressor or a trauma. So that perceived danger, those threats to your safety, this is your body's way of protecting you from that. And these experiences are either come from your past experiences, your personality, the type of the threat that you're receiving, how your body is triggered, and how it responds. So this is what I want you to do first. We're going to go through these. I'm going to go through a quick overview of these four. I want you to think about what you think is your type of trauma response now. And then after we talk about them a little bit more, I want to see if you still feel the same way at the end of that and discuss what, talk about those a little bit. So the fight response is having the power to try to defeat that threat, that trauma, that stressor. Flight is running away from it, hiding, avoiding. Faint is you realize you can't overpower it, you can't overrun it, you just shut down. And then fawn is offering alternatives. A lot of times that comes in ways of overcompensating and things like that. Does everybody think they know what they are? Do you feel comfortable saying it out loud? Do you want to put it in the chat? Anybody want to talk about what they think they are before we get into more definition?
I can, because after talking with you, I think that mine's more of the fawn.
Okay. Anybody else?
I actually don't know which one I would fall under.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's more than one. Like I realized in doing this that I have one aspect I use in certain situations and one aspect I do for other things. And I'll get into that a little bit more as we're going through these. But I have definitely realized in the last probably month or so, I use two of them on a regular basis. So first, we're going to discuss fight. So this is the defense mechanism I've realized, or stressor response I use with my kids. And I don't know why this is what I do, but this is what I go into when my kids trigger me. So my temper is very explosive and unpredictable. Not that much so, but when we get to some of the other stuff. Taunts, mocks, insults, shames. That's not where I'm going with it. It's my way or the highway. This is where it becomes me. I yell, I slam doors, I scream. Some people become aggressive. Very easily reactive, especially once my buttons, especially if I'm really tired, I will feel this way. I react overly because of exhaustion. Sometimes people will feel like they're being threatened and they need to protect themselves at any cost. And that's a big part there. Is you're fighting just to protect yourself, and you'll do anything to make sure you're safe. And it could cost at any response. So often you're going to feel these people will feel shameful or remorse after the outburst. So after you've done this acting out to protect yourself, you feel bad about it afterwards. And then talking back to authority figures, that I've never been able to do. Does this sound like anybody? Yeah, I see Angelina waving her head. All right. Flight. Oh, did we just get something to come up in the chat? No. Oh, I do got something. Yeah. Yes, Angelina, you're definitely a fawn. I was gonna say I already knew what yours was, but you beat me to it. Let me go back. Okay. Oops. Okay, flight. So, I keep doing this. Sorry, I got too many different things I'm trying to do at the same time. All right, flight. It's the chronic rushing, always on the go. You feel uncomfortable or even panicked when you're sitting still. Energy spent micromanaging people and situations around them. So you're often trying to make sure everybody around you is doing what you think they should be doing, but not always worrying about what's going on. It's going on within you. You have a history of abruptly ending relationships or a phobic of commitment. Often feel very easily trapped. You'll make plans, make tons of plans, just anything you can do to avoid downtime or being by yourself, being alone. Throw yourself into working is a big one. Often presents as anxiety or panic attacks in a lot of people. They get scared. I feel like something's, they're being attacked, and being intentionally or unintentionally distracted. Does this sound like anybody? Angelina's going to that. Yes, to that one too. I have times where I used to do a lot of the on the go kind of stuff, and feeling like I had to keep myself busy, especially like right around the time John passed away. I was always trying to keep myself busy so I wouldn't sit around and think about what was going on. So flight, but yeah, is me as can be you as well. Faint or freeze response. This one's known as both. The faint response is you feel completely numb. You feel like life is pointless. You shut down, so you become extra introverted, withdrawing from social interactions, hiding from the world, procrastinate, anything to avoid making any kind of decisions. Will often just sit and scroll on social media and find confusion over things that are real or unreal, or anything that's actually happening. This is often confused or misdiagnosed with depression. So a lot of times there are often people are diagnosed with depression and they're actually in this faint or freeze response because they can't deal with the world around them because of their being trauma triggered. And they often give up quickly. Anybody feel this one? No. All right. This is one I didn't know about until I started the fawn response. I didn't really know about until I took this courageous living class. And this is me to a T in every part of my aspect of my life, and everything I do in my life. I felt like outside of my home life, this is me. So people that fawn are often people pleasing. They go along with what other people believe or what other people do. And this is also connected to that codependency factor that I was discussing in one of my social media posts the other day, because you fall into what other people believe and you believe what they want you to believe rather than having your own beliefs or values or yeah, my words are not wording. You often disassociate or space out. You let other people make decisions rather than you being the one to make the decision. You avoid situations that could lead to conflict. Avoidance is always, a good one everyone does. You hate telling people no. This was me. I said yes to so many different things over the course of my lifetime that I didn't realize what I was doing was a trauma response, or triggering or trying to avoid this. Overly polite or agreeable, hyper aware of others' emotions rather than paying attention to your own, and relying on others to help solve your problems. So rather than you making a decision to solve your own problems, you're asking other people to help you, because that's that people pleasing. The key phrase here is people pleasing. You're going to do whatever anybody else wants you to do. People please, codependent. Um, this is normal, because what you're doing is avoiding conflict. So I know at least 3 of us are this way. Does anybody else feel like that's one of the things you go with? Or did you realize anything from these definitions that we didn't talk about, or you were thinking about before? Juliana, what do you mean also your mother? For fawn? Juliana?
There we go. The button wouldn't show up.
On the phone, it's always fun. When you're saying also my mother, are you talking about the fawn response?
Yeah, she is definitely both the freeze and the fawn.
Yeah.
For sure.
Do you see any of these other ones in you?
Well, mostly fawn.
Okay.
It truly is mostly fawn, and that's a learned responses.
Yeah.
That way, it kept me safer.
Yeah.
But I have to say, like when really in like the deep dark forest of it all, like freeze is
Uh-huh.
also something that I do.
Yeah.
Where you sit there and you really don't know what to do.
Yeah. We talked about that recently.
Yeah.
So what's also good is when you look at these, you'll be able to see how other people in your life respond to stressors and trauma, stressors, especially like in a stressful situation. If you watch those around you, you'll start to see how they respond to things, and you'll realize what their triggers and some of their responses are. And that sometimes will help you relate or communicate with somebody else in a stressful situation. If you know how you react, and you know how somebody else that you're having a conflict with, or are in a situation with, you see how they respond, sometimes that will help with communication and figuring out how to talk to each other in those situations. And knowing that, like, I know my daughter is going to be more of a fight, but she gets to a fight to a point and then she freezes. John was a freeze. Like, he just, I guess he was more of a flight. He would just avoid the situation, and he wouldn't, take any accountability, or he would just say whatever it took to make me happy when I was upset. So that when you have those contradicting stressors, it adds to the situation and can be difficult. So some of the triggers, that these are just a few. Everyday events, running late to an appointment, that is always a stressor for me. Getting feedback at work. I have just recently learned how to do this. This was always one of my stressors. I would think everything was a criticism of me, no matter whether they were talking about me or not. That would be a situation I would have to figure out how to work around. Conflict with a loved one or stranger goes back to that avoidance of conflict I was just discussing. If you're facing something that's unexpected, that's a stressor that can be triggering, or losing something or someone that's important to you would be everyday events, but that would be triggering. So traumatic events, and these are seriously traumatic in most of these situations. It's responding to an emergency situation, experiencing or witnessing domestic violence, sexual assault, police brutality, or war, being physically, emotionally, or sexually abused during childhood or adulthood. Those are all seriously traumatic events, but then those will also have very much a lot of implications on how you respond to those stressors and triggers. So there's short-term and long-term stressors. Short-term stressors your stress response goes away once the threat is gone. So once the threat is neutralized, that whatever is out there that's stressing you or triggering you, that's gone, then you can start to relax and feel like yourself again. Or there's long-term stress or trauma that can cause these responses to become overactivated. So you're in that stressful or traumatic situation for a long period of time. It causes your response to overactivate and become larger and bigger and more of a problem. Does anybody have any questions on triggers or stressors or anything you want to share? No. All right. So coping with those responses. A lot of these are typical that we would use to cope with any kind of stress, but to think about this, exercise or movement, talking about the stressful event with someone that you trust, a trusted loved one, a trusted person in your life. This one's a hard one for me, but it's reducing your caffeine or alcohol intake, because when I typically get stressed, I tend to, depending on what time of day it is, go for one or the other. And learning to change that situation within you is going to be a big one, because I would tend to open a bottle of wine when I was stressed or triggered and drink the whole bottle of wine. Learning not to do that and finding another way around those situations has been a big coping situation just for me alone. Engaging in hobbies that you enjoy. I started recently on my iPad, I downloaded a Zen coloring game. And when I start to feel stressed, sometimes I'll just do it. It's an online color with a, tap my finger on the iPad and do a color by number thing. That just, it brings me down from whatever that stressful situation is. And I've used that as a good practice. I've also discussed with some just writing, just sit down and start writing something you enjoy. Any of those kind of things. My daughter does diamond art when she's really stressed. She'll do the diamond art and to help her regulate her responses. Practicing mindfulness, meditation, muscle relaxation, or breathing techniques. These are wonderful. I'm very much have worked on the mindfulness, but and breathing techniques a lot. But these are great situations and sometimes can help you stop those, what's the word I'm looking for? The squirrel running around in your head, that wheel just keeps turning. If you need to shut everything down, trying to find a way to meditate or shut that down and breathe, do deep breathing can help. Writing in a journal. I actually did just this past weekend complete a trauma journal with prompts in it. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm more than happy to share that with you. It's got 10 days worth of journal prompts. I'm working on some more for the future, but right now I have it done with 10. So if that's something you're interested in, or you think somebody would be interested in, I do have that free and available to anybody who's interested. Oops, too many pages. Okay, other things. So when I discussed exercise, running, walking, take a hike, play a sport, go to the gym, dance, yoga, lift weights, whatever kind of exercise will help you release that aggression. When I used to be a regular at the gym, I would go grab a medicine or a jam ball and just slam it to the ground as hard as I can. I actually went and bought one at home, and I will come down in my basement with that medicine ball and just slam it and picture whatever is stressing me out or triggering me is there in front of and below the ball, and just throw that down and to help release some of that aggression. Hobbies, as I mentioned, the coloring, the other things, but crafting, gardening, reading, video games are all different things you can do to cope with those responses. Do any of you guys have anything you use if you're feeling stressed or triggered that you use to help cope with your response?
Knitting. That is the very first thing that I run to, because having to focus on counting stitches and not dropping anything and making sure that I'm not messing it up
Yeah.
occupies like all of my executive functions, so that I really can't also use my brain to torture myself.
Yeah. Those are huge. Those are huge helpers and huge things to attempt. Yawning is not an option, Angelina. I can see you. So what do we got here? Oh, gratitude journaling. hang on. Yeah. Yeah. I have way too many games on my iPad that I use, and I just will sit there and shut the world out around me and play games on my iPad. So, all right. So this is a fairly quick session. So just go over this to remember that these responses are built-in self-defense mechanisms. They're meant to help you when you're responding to a situation to help you feel safe. And these responses can help you respond to various stressors or stay safe when faced with danger. When they become overly activated, resulting in a negative physical and mental health consequences, that is just your body's way of saving itself. So some ways to help your body return to baseline after a stressful response, as I mentioned, exercising, talking to loved ones, practicing your breathing techniques. And for trauma survivors or people experiencing chronic stress, it's always helpful if you can find some additional support, talk to a therapist, set up sessions with me, whatever works for you to help work through that situation, to help you find ways to cope with your stress and those traumatic experiences. That's key, because once you understand how you feel and why you are acting the way you're acting, sometimes that'll help you learn how to work your way through those situations and cope with those responses. Does anybody have any questions before I wrap anything else up? No, we got through this really quick. It only took us about a half hour. Anybody?
I really liked, was that Andrea? Yeah, Andrea, the gratitude journal. I do something kind of similar, actually. I call it my book of wins. And so it doesn't matter like how easy a thing is for somebody else to do. If it was hard for me and I got it done, it goes in the book.
Yeah, that, I mean, the book, that's a great idea. I mean, you and I have discussed that on many options. Just sometimes putting some of your thought processes on paper can help find you into the next situation and help you figure out how to bring your stress level down and cope with the next situation.
It really does, because
Mhm.
otherwise it's so easy to get caught in that loop of negativity of the
Yeah.
inconveniences that happened today or the things you didn't like or how you're feeling on the inside.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
rereading anything from the Book of Winds to remind myself that my brain is lying to me,
Yeah.
that helps.
Yeah. Most definitely. Andrea, did you have something? I saw you came off mute.
Yeah, I love that. I've actually it's kind of a way I worked myself out of a really deep depression, was starting to gratitude journal, and literally if it was just a blanket that I had or anything, just be thankful, and doing that, like listing 3 things every morning would, like, it didn't at first help, but the more I did it started to help. Or even like now, if I'm having like a bad day, I'll walk through the house and like just go on a walk and pick up things that I'm grateful for until I knock out that mood that I had.
I love that. I love
Mhm.
that every day you find a way to be thankful for 3 things and take those into account throughout your day. And walking around, the nature side of it, like I've done that when we were in Sedona the last time. I spent some time just sitting outside the Grand Canyon, and I made myself think of things I was grateful for, just taking in the beauty of nature and being thankful for everything that I had in my life. And being able to do that has really been life changing for me, is to acknowledge those things that I'm thankful for rather than focusing on the negativity, the hurt, the pain, the all of that.
Right.
That's
It
why I'm
just
already
changes so
planning
much.
my next Sedona trip. Started that last night. I texted my girlfriend in Sedona. I'm like, when are we coming back? All right. So this is how I can help, and you can share this with anybody you know. So I do a free 30-minute welcome call. Those are always free. Gives us time to talk, find out about your needs. And then after that, if it's something we both agree on, I would set up sessions. We can do them bi-weekly or weekly for about an hour. And if you join me tonight or you refer a friend, there is discounts. And I said I was doing a drawing. I wrote a number down when I got on before you guys got on today. And I wrote down the number 3 for the third person to join. So Juliana, you won.
Hell yeah.
So I will send you a gift card via text. We'll talk. And I'll find you
Thank
something.
you.
Of course. So does anybody have any questions? I went through this fairly quickly. I knew you guys were all trying to stay off camera and be good. I'm going to stop recording and stop sharing.
Well, thank you for this. I thought it was great because I didn't even realize the freeze or the fawn before you talked about them.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew about freeze. I didn't know about fawn until I did the courageous living and traumatic and trauma program. And realizing that fawn is actually a stress response or a traumatic is a huge. I mean, I see myself in that one completely. I also see myself in fight. I see myself in all of them at different times in my life, but I think fawn is my biggest for dealing with the outside world.
Yeah, I think mine is like that too.
Yeah. I think I'm different at home because I think I let my guard down and I stop worrying about pleasing everybody when I'm at home and just let the real Erin shine. Anybody got anything else?
I did appreciate Andrea mentioning the things that also felt like her, because it has me going over the other responses, trying to spot myself in them as well. Um, because I don't think any of us give a singular one all of the time, and it also depends upon a lot of factors of how we got to be the people that we are today.
Yeah.
Hence, thanks for calling me out on typing my mother in the chat because I was trying to make her listen at the same time, but I didn't think you would read it out loud. It's okay. It's okay. We'll have an interesting conversation later.
Did she hear it?
Part of it, yeah. So
Sorry,
that was
honey.
wonderful.
Sorry, honey. We'll discuss that more in your session tomorrow.
Yeah, it might encourage a breakthrough. You never know.
Hey, you never know. We've already done that once, right?
Yeah.
All right. Angelina, did you have anything? I saw you reaching forward a couple times, but I know you're driving.
Yes. I just wanted to say thank you for this super awesome information. It's interesting because at first I was like, well, I don't know which one I am. And then as you're describing it, I was like, yeah, that's you. That says your name on it. So I can definitely see myself between the first two, in different scenarios. And it really makes me think of like, what are those trigger things, that make me have that, like those flight responses and stuff. So I appreciate this. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I thank you for joining me. I'm hoping all of you got something out of this tonight, and know that I am here if you need to discuss, or somebody else that needs some help with their traumatic or their triggers or their experiences. I am here for that. And I found great joy in this, in realizing this is where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be doing since the loss of John. So it's been life-changing for me, and I appreciate all of your support. All 3 of you have supported me in different ways, and I appreciate it. And let me know if you need anything. And Angelina, I'll talk to you again in about 25 minutes.
Thank you, Erin. Everybody,
I will talk to you tomorrow. And then I get the joy of heading to the outskirts of Philadelphia for a soccer tournament this weekend. So I will be off Friday morning for soccer for the weekend, going at my son's regional tournament. So that'll be fun. All right. You guys all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining. And please share my info with anybody you think that needs it. Have a great evening. Bye.